How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper. My goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading, whether the price is going up or down. I shift to judges as Grayscale saga moves forward. Grayscale investments and the SEC are now set to exchange oral arguments for the first time in the case to determine whether or not the regulator wrongly denied their proposal for an ETF. And you that don't know, an ETF allows people to buy in and invest in a share of a company rather than buying like an actual Bitcoin and holding it in a wallet and worrying about all that. GBDC launched in 2013 and holds $14 billion in assets. The trust has traded at a discount of more than 40% in recent weeks. Grayscale's preferred solution is converting the trust to an ETF. The firm says doing so would alleviate GBDC's discount by introducing liquidity. Grayscale contended the SEC approval of ETFs that invest in CME traded futures, but not for spot or ETPs, invest in Bitcoin directly, such as GBTC does, is discriminatory. So to allow only future trading and not spot trading, they're saying that's discriminatory. The SEC said Bitcoin futures funds and spot Bitcoin funds are not the same, adding they have fundamental differences in the ability to detect and deter fraud and manipulation. So they're saying, well, we allow it because CME is easier to detect when someone's wrong. These arguments are slated for tomorrow morning. So there's going to be quite a bit tomorrow morning with Jerome Powell's first meeting of the week tomorrow morning as well. Alameda sues Grayscale over $9 billion locked in Bitcoin Trust shares. That's quite a big chunk of that $14 billion they have. Failed crypto company FTX announced today that its affiliate Alameda Research is suing asset manager Grayscale Investments in a bid to unlock investments it says that are being improperly withheld from their customers. FTX's new boss, John J. Ray III, who is overseeing the bank process of the collapsed crypto exchange, said Grayscale had an improper redemption ban that was stopping customers from getting their money. Hundreds of millions of dollars in client cash is now missing, with a large amount presumed stolen. FTX customers and creditors will benefit from additional recoveries along with other Grayscale Trust investors that are being harmed by Grayscale's actions, said Ray. So, there's other companies that are suffering these issues. FTX further alleged that the past 2 years alone, Grayscale has extracted over $1.3 billion in exorbitant management fees in violation of the trust agreements. FTX said in Monday's statement that if Grayscale had reduced those fees and allowed investors to withdraw their cash, then FTX shares would be worth 90% more than they are now. FTX customer cash is locked up in Grayscale as they were drawn to its investment vehicle that enables investors to trade shares in trusts holding large pools of Bitcoin or Ethereum. Grayscale has been transparent in our efforts to obtain regulatory improvement to convert GBTC into an ETF exchange-traded fund, an outcome that is undoubtedly best long-term product structure for Grayscale's investors, they said. That was from Grayscale. There's some other stuff here. Failed crypto hedge fund 3 Arrow Capital also found itself in trouble with Grayscale. The firm, which went bankrupt last year, held lots of Grayscale shares, but when the finance started to go pear-shaped, it couldn't recover the cash. So both Alameda and 3AC had issues with investing in Grayscale and trying to get their money back before they went bankrupt. So there's a common theme there. Maybe that's why they're not getting approved. Voyager bankruptcy judge has harsh words for SEC's objection to Binance deal. The judge overseeing crypto broker Voyager Digital's bankruptcy proceedings had harsh words for an objection from the SEC. Voyager had a pending deal to sell its distressed assets to Binance US, which will handle the returning money to the company's customers. Wiles, the judge, was originally going to issue a decision on the plan last week. He has instead given the SEC until tomorrow morning to come up with a more convincing argument against Voyager's restructuring plan. In its objection, the SEC wrote that while the Commission itself hasn't taken an official position on whether Voyager VGX token is a security, the staff at the SEC believe it could be and want to maintain the right to hold the company liable. The SEC argued that the transaction to return the assets to customers may violate its rules against the sale of unregistered securities, thereby calling Binance US an unregistered securities exchange. So Gary's saying if this deal does go through and they decide that Voyager is a security with their token, then they could hold Binance accountable for selling securities and they're not in a registered securities exchange. In its objection, the SEC said Voyager sought absolute immunity from governmental enforcement actions for past or future violations. In its objection, the SEC said Voyager sought absolute immunity from governmental enforcement actions for the past or future violations of law relating to the restructuring transactions for anyone involved in the deal with Binance US. U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, Damian Wells, called it blatantly illegal to seek legal protection from possible civil or criminal fraud charges. The state securities regulator in New Jersey wrote to support Williams' objection. Meanwhile, the securities and banking regulator in Texas has taken the issue with Voyager not being more deliberate in telling unsecured creditors that their payout could drop from an estimated 51% to 24% of the value of their assets if the company doesn't win its lawsuit against Alameda Research. Alameda sued Voyager in January, seeking to recover $446 million in loans it repaid to Voyager Digital. In it, Alameda alleges that Voyager's other crypto lenders funded Alameda and fueled its alleged misconduct, either knowing or recklessly. Now, Alameda's lawyers argue that the money is recoverable and should be used to repay Alameda's creditors, not Voyager's. Texas regulators also have called attention to Binance US's terms of use, saying it asks customers to acknowledge that Binance US relies upon Binance.com and other related parties to provide services to Binance US. Abigail Rain, Texas Attorney General, wrote in a February court filing arguing that not all jurisdictions or customer data could be shared, maintaining the same financial data protections as the U.S. SEC's objection echoes one raised 2 weeks ago when the Federal Trade Commission called the same language a disguised discharge to protect Voyager from being held accountable for deceptive and unfair marketing. If Voyager Digital's deal to sell its distressed assets to Binance US isn't allowed to be finalized, the bankrupt crypto broker could be open to a third round of bidding. Justice Department pushes for independent investigation of FTX collapse. The U.S. trustee in FTX's bankruptcy case pushed back in a recent court order by Judge John Dorsey Monday, filing an appeal against the judge's decision not to appoint an independent examiner to look into the bankrupt exchange's collapse. In February, Judge Dorsey said appointing an independent examiner would create an increased risk of further loss through inadvertent disclosures or hacking. The judge also noted that appointing to independent examiner would draw on funds that could potentially be delivered back to creditors who are owed billions of dollars following FTX's collapse. He estimated that the investigation could cost more than $100 million and the bill would be footed by FTX's debtors. The questions at stake here are simply too large and too important to be left in an internal investigation, the U.S. trustee wrote, adding an examiner would be able to act as a true neutral to all affected parties. During a hearing last month, Wright 3 testified that examiners' reports have not been helpful in previous bankruptcy proceedings he's overseen, calling them somewhat ambient in terms of drawing conclusions. So they're pretty wishy-washy. They don't really know who they want to support. The Committee of Unsecured Creditors and FTX itself had objected to the U.S. trustee's motion, saying it would duplicate much of the work that had been done. James Ronley, an FTX attorney, argued that the U.S. trustee's office was overlooking security concerns inherent with investigating the company's financials, which could potentially put assets at risk or lead to them missing. So on to the charts. So over, don't know why we're on the 4 hour right away. Over on the daily, our money flow is still coming down. RSI is flat. Our momentum wave is trying to curl up. Our VWAP is trying to cross bullish after attempting to kind of round out. So we'll have to see if that momentum wave can get a green dot and if that VWAP can cross over and money waves start to curl up. Our stochastic's still not going anywhere, so nothing exciting there. We do have pretty much a tweezer top here. The big red candle followed was preceded by, we have a green candle and then a big red candle, so that's a tweezer top. Money flow is not really crossing green yet, and our momentum wave is getting a red dot, so we're getting bearish signals as well as a red X, but we are inside a symmetrical triangle that has a possibility of breaking up and hitting the top of this descending channel, or it could also be our bear pendant that has a breakdown possibility of the bottom of the same channel. So it really could go either way with this pattern. We have a bear flag too, somewhat forming. If you count these as like instances of just extremes, that could also break us down. So two signals pointing downwards, money flow not crossing bullish yet, red dot on our momentum, and our VWAP's coming down on the 4 hour. So leaning a little more bearish looking right now. Our stochastic's coming down even though RSI is trying to inch up. So RSI is heading up even though it's losing strength. So not looking the greatest. If money flow doesn't seem to recover, then we're probably not going to sustain any movement up. Money flow is coming down on the 2 hour. Our VWAP is kind of curling, going flat. Our momentum wave is coming down and our stochastic's coming down, but it's about to try and make a bullish cross. That may just not last very long and we could come right back down. Our RSI tried to run up and now it's dropped down a little bit and kind of went flat. Over on the 1 hour, stochastic's coming down, money flow rejected across, so that's not a good sign. I was hoping to see that cross. Our VWAP is coming down along with it, and our RSI is starting to head down too. If we look over at graph, we are trying to make a little bit of a bounce. This is kind of rounding here, which could be a bottom signal, but with Bitcoin looking kind of bearish, I wouldn't bet too heavily on it. Our RSI is kind of flat, stochastic went flat, money flow's coming out, momentum wave's coming down, but we could get a green dot, and our VWAP is just like Bitcoin, so very similar with the VWAP and momentum wave. We're trying to get across to the upside there. Over on the 4 hour, our money flow's coming out. We do have a little bit of a bullish divergence here on our momentum wave as we're getting higher lows, even though price is making lower lows. Our money flow is trying to recover. Hopefully it's able to recover. Our VWAP is heading up. We'll have to kind of see what the 2 hours doing to see if we have a chance of recovery. Our money flow is coming down pretty aggressively, however we're starting to curl up. Momentum is coming up, and our VWAP started to head back down, but it's starting to flatten out. Our stochastic and RSI are both heading back up, so the 2 hours suggesting we could get a little bit of a reversal here. We're also getting a reversal arrow, so we may be able to get a little bit of a pump, maybe get back inside this pattern, and we'll have to see where we go from there. The 1 hour, money flow is just rejected, came back down, and is trying to cross again. If we reject here on the 1 hour, it's likely we'll start to head back the other way as the money will start to come out. Over on XRP, we are starting to come down for that head and shoulders. Momentum's coming out, money flow's coming down, and our VWAP's kind of dead. Stochastic wants to make a recovery, but our RSI is sliding. So daily's not looking too strong. We pretty much did make the full move of this bear flag twice. Over on the 4 hour, we're kind of rounded. Might be able to make an inverse head and shoulders here. That could save us and bring us up. if we're able to gain some momentum. Our stochastic's starting to curl, RSI's starting to head down, money flow's heading down, VWAP's heading down. Our momentum wave is about to curl, so we're looking kind of weak on the 4 hour. Over on the 2 hour, money flow's coming down, VWAP is coming down, and our momentum wave looks like it's about to curl, and the RSI and stochastic are both coming down as well. So we're looking pretty weak here, as well as getting a reversal arrow right around that peak. So that's a signal that we could get some more dip. Money flow, just like Bitcoin, kind of flip-flopping. VWAP bearish. Our momentum wave has a red dot and is coming down. RSI is heading down and our stochastic's heading down. So the 2 hours looking kind of crummy here. Not looking too good for a move up. Over on algo, we are right above that low value area. Again, we are getting a green dot on the momentum wave here, unlike everything else, so that is a positive sign. We're getting a double green dot because we're getting one down here too. Our RSI had that green dot like a day or two ago. Our price is kind of flat. Money flow is coming down though, and our VWAP's not really getting a good cross up. We'll need that VWAP to cross up and money flow to curl. The 4 hour, our stochastic's heading down, about to make a bearish cross. Our RSI is heading down, our money flow is coming out, and our momentum wave is making a bullish divergence, kind of like graph was, where we're getting these lower lows and price is making higher lows on the momentum, and lower lows on the price. We are getting a red X here. That is a manipulation side that could bring us to the downside. We're getting a red dot on our momentum wave as well after just peaking above. So everything's trying to peak above and it's looking like we could get rejected and slammed to the downside here. Over on the 1 hour, money flow's coming down pretty aggressively, same with VWAP. Same with our other indicators really, so we're getting beat down pretty badly. If we don't get some momentum in Bitcoin, then some of our altcoins look like they could start to suffer. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I hope you have a wonderful night.